More than 33 million people watched President Obama deliver the first State of the Union address of his second term a week ago today. That's actually a low number for a State of the Union, relatively speaking, but that just goes to show you what a giant audience that annual speech has if 33 million is a low number. But as it turns out, on the same day that this was happening in Washington, something else was also happening in Washington. A secret meeting between the Navy SEAL who killed Osama bin Laden and 9 members of Congress. This Navy SEAL, who has never revealed his name publicly for obvious reasons, was not there to divulge some new, previously secret thing about the bin Laden raid. He was there to talk about life after the bin Laden raid. Life after the bin Laden raid for him and his family. This Washington meeting with 9 of the most influential members of the Senate and the House, according to reports, was to discuss the difficulty that soldiers, and especially members of the elite special operations forces, have in transitioning to civilian life. Last week, Esquire magazine and the Center for Investigative Reporting ran a lengthy profile of this Navy SEAL, allegedly the one who killed bin Laden, that included a lot of new details about the raid. The SEAL says that he shot bin Laden twice in the forehead as bin Laden stood before him, and then he shot him once again in the same place after he fell. He says bin Laden may have tried to use his wife as a human shield. He was at least holding her in front of himself, or maybe moving her in front of himself when he was killed. He says the CIA analyst who briefed him on the bin Laden compound told him she knew with 100% certainty that bin Laden would be on the 3rd floor of the compound, which he was. The SEAL says that after the raid was over, he gave that CIA analyst the magazine from his rifle, which was still full, except for the 3 bullets he had expended into Mr. bin Laden. So the further details on the raid and the people who made it happen, those are new details. But the part of the story that got the follow-up on Capitol Hill on State of the Union Day, the follow-up on Capitol Hill for the man who killed bin Laden with 9 members of Congress, was the part about him leaving the Navy, leaving the Special Forces, leaving the military altogether, and how hard he has found it to get by ever since. Hence the title of Esquire's interview with him, quote, "The man who killed Osama bin Laden, ... is screwed." Quote, "When he leaves after 16 years in the Navy, his body filled with scar tissue, arthritis, tendinitis, eye damage, and blown discs, here is what he gets from his employer and a grateful nation. Nothing. No pension, no health care for his wife and kids, no protection for himself or his family." Once the story was published, there was some controversy about whether Esquire made a factual error when they described the man's health care benefits. Turns out he is entitled to health care for himself for 5 years, but none for his family. They clarified that. Beyond that, though, there's this. Like many vets, he will have to wait at least 8 months to have his disability claims adjudicated, or even longer. The average wait time nationally is more than 9 months. The Center for Investigative Reporting analyzed the wait times for 58 Veterans Affairs offices across the country. They made this interactive map with the data that they found. What they discovered was that many vets are waiting way longer than that 9-month national average for their disability claims to be processed. In New York, the average wait is 412 days. In Oakland, California, 427 days. In Waco, Texas, veterans are waiting on average 441 days. In Phoenix, it's 451 days. In Los Angeles, it's over 500 days. So almost a year and a half, veterans in Los Angeles are waiting just for a preliminary answer from the VA. Waiting while in some cases they are unable to work, hence the disability claim. A year and a half, just waiting to hear back about whether that claim is going to be accepted or denied. Wait until you have to appeal. You've heard before about this backlog, right? How the government is blowing it on keeping this promise that we made to the people who signed up to serve. What is amazing now, in a bad way, is that the backlog is not getting better, it is getting worse. At the start of 2012, it was taking 6 months or so, 188 days, for the VA to resolve a claim. That was by the start of the year. By the end of the year, we had gone from 6 months to 9 months. 262 days. 262 days of checking the mail, logging into your account, checking your email, waiting to hear back. In September of last year, the wife of one Iraq War veteran posted a video to YouTube that she titled, "The VA Doesn't Care." In the video, she said her family had filed her husband's disability claim when their baby was 6 weeks old, around the time of their child's 2nd birthday. She said she was tired of waiting to hear back. She posted the video. Her video garnered enough attention online that the VA responded to her with their own video. But look at the response.
Recently, the spouse of a veteran posted a video to YouTube asking many of the same questions we often see from veterans, their families, and survivors. So he thought this was a really good opportunity to respond so veterans don't feel like they have to post a video to YouTube just to get information. Personally, I understand your frustration. I'm an Air Force veteran, my husband is a Marine Corps veteran, and both he and I have claims that are currently part of the backlog.
You're part of the backlog too, and you work there? They can't even fix it for you? The VA spokeswoman went on to say that the long wait times are unacceptable, that the VA knows they're unacceptable, and they are working to make the process more efficient and more accurate. That back and forth happened last year, and that family that took their complaints to YouTube did eventually get their claim resolved. I don't know about the spokeswoman. The VA, of course, has promised they'll try to do better. Well, just this month, the Center for Investigative Reporting found that the VA is making so many errors when it processes veterans' claims, and the backlog of claims is so long that 53 veterans are dying every day now while they are waiting to receive word on their disability benefits. These are veterans of all wars, veterans of all ages, but 53 every day. And that is not just some weird way of parsing the statistics to make a shocking-sounding statement. It is so common for American veterans to die while waiting on their disability claims that there is an alliterative phrase that people use to describe it. They call it delay, deny, wait till I die. Quote, the common refrain we hear from many veterans is delay, deny, wait till I die. That's a quote from Congressman Jeff Miller, chairman of the House Committee on Veterans Affairs. He calls the backlog on benefits claims a national embarrassment. Delay, deny, wait till I die. What we're talking about here is a paperwork problem and a bureaucracy problem. It's a problem about the speed at which paperwork is processed. It is not a sexy-sounding problem, however sexy we think all things associated with Navy SEALs are. But this is a problem that really specifically hurts the men and women who do the hardest job that we as a nation can ask anyone to do. And that, in many cases, we lionize for their service. We just don't make good on the promises that we made them while thanking them for what they do. We are hurting them and their families by not getting this right. The VA says their transition to a paperless system has experienced initial bumps that have worsened the problem for now, but that it'll get better with time. They say advances in medical treatment and body armor mean more soldiers are surviving injuries and returning from war, and that's a good thing, but that their system has to catch up with the increasing numbers of folks who need help once they come back from war. They're trying to catch up, and they are failing worse and worse all the time. President Obama mentioned veterans twice during his State of the Union speech last week. His administration has made veterans a priority. First Lady Michelle Obama, Dr. Jill Biden, the wife of Vice President Biden, have made veterans and their families a very high-profile priority. The president did not have to mention Osama bin Laden in the State of the Union this year because Osama bin Laden is dead thanks to the Navy SEALs. The man who killed Osama bin Laden has some ideas about what the government can do now to help men and women like him as they are coming home. He told members of Congress who met with him in secret, they had to meet in secret, that he can help them with a plan to make things better. Let's hope he has an audience. Joining us now is Aaron Glantz. Aaron is a reporter with the Center for Investigative Reporting, the news organization that co-reported the story with Esquire about the SEAL who killed bin Laden. Mr. Glantz has spent 7 years covering the war in Iraq and what awaits Iraq and Afghanistan veterans when they get home. He's the author of The War Comes Home, Washington's Battle Against America's Veterans. Aaron Glantz, thanks very much for joining us tonight.
Oh, my pleasure.
What do we know about the meeting between this Navy SEAL and members of Congress on the day of the State of the Union last week? Obviously, his identity has to be shrouded for safety reasons, but do we know if he had a receptive audience when he met with these members of Congress?
Yeah, well, what the members of Congress and their staff told us at the Center for Investigative Reporting is they were very moved. You know, here is the guy who killed the most wanted man in our modern history, and he came to them and he apparently didn't talk very much about himself. He talked about the other people in his unit and the 820,000 other veterans that, like him, are waiting on their disability claim, and a lot of them are in a lot worse strait than he is. And so he spoke about that. He spoke about the difficulties of finding a job after you leave special operations where all your work is classified. You can't exactly sit down in a job interview and say, hey, I just killed Osama bin Laden, give me a job, it's all classified. All of this was very, very moving, I understand. And as you mentioned, he met with senior members of Congress from both parties, the chair of the House Veterans, the chair of the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee, and other leaders.
Is there anything that we know that might be a concrete change that could come out of these discussions? Obviously, he's a guy who speaks from a very specific perspective, and he will have the ear of anybody who he can arrange to speak with because of what he's done and what he's been associated with. I think a lot of particularly sort of tier one operator veterans feel that way, that they have political capital. The nation is very grateful and very respectful of what they have done. Is there something specific that he wants changed or that they want changed that might make a difference in the kind of problems that they've identified?
Well, I think the problem is that the members of Congress that the shooter was speaking to are also at their wits' end with this. You know, they've appropriated more money to the VA. They've heard the President of the United States say the right things about veterans. And yet at the same time, the problems that are facing these Iraq and Afghanistan veterans when they come home are getting worse and worse and worse, to the point that even if you kill Osama bin Laden, you're stuck in the same backlog. And, you know, he's literally gotten letters from the VA since he filed his disability claim in the fall that say basically, don't call us, we'll call you, just hold it. So they've put more money towards this problem. The VA says they're going to computerize claims, but we at the Center for Investigative Reporting found that after 4 years and $500 million, the VA has only processed 75 claims electronically. And so if you're a member of Congress, you want to solve this problem, you can't actually force the VA. What can you do? You can hold hearings, you can pass laws, but it's really up to these administrators to get on the ball.
And this is something that I can't believe hasn't become more. The fact that we went through an election year where we fought about the basic functions of government, supposedly we had this very basic debate. I can't believe this didn't become more of a partisan issue. I don't necessarily want things to become partisan for that purpose, but we've got to fight over this or something if this is going to get any better in this country. The political will is there. It's just not working. Aaron Clance, reporter with the Center for Investigative Reporting. Thank you so much for being with us. I appreciate it, and I've been following your work for a long time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Aaron's book is called The War Comes Home, Washington's Battle Against America's Veterans.